Thank you for joining this episode of Mindset to Manuscript with JT. Speak your truth. Today, I am super excited to have with us an entrepreneur, filmmaker, spiritual person, good friend, ancestral, so many different things, mother, wife. I mean, the list just goes on. Innovator with us, Miss Eva Jane Bunkley of Eva Jane Beauty. Yay! Thank you so much for joining. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited to have you. Everyone, Eva Jane has done so many things. She's Emmy Award winning, but I just makeup artist and filmmaker and so many things. So Eva, can you share, just give us some roots in regards to just what you've done? Just give us an overview of that. But today, we want to really get into your truth, what you've done as an entrepreneur. I know you've done some things in ancestry, and for our culture, that's really important, finding our roots literally. And then, of course, you've got, we've all experienced things that may have traumatized us or could have, but yet we utilized it in a different way. So let's just start a little bit about your roots and what led you to where you are today in your career.
Well, let's see. I grew up in Ohio, went to college, studied fashion, giving the Cliff's Notes version, moved to Atlanta it was the early 90s when I moved to Atlanta over 30 years ago. And my original pursuit was I wanted to get into the fashion industry in some way, shape, form, whether it was through styling, whether it was through, I did some music videos, styled some people, and makeup artistry was there as well. I took a theatrical makeup course while I was in school, and that was kind of my foundation to just kind of know a little bit about color theory and how the face was structured and be able to kind of have a rudimentary understanding to start out my career as a makeup artist. Because as I was searching when I first started out, early in my career after college, I didn't find any jobs in my field, but I was like, makeup artistry is an adjacent field, would still put me among the type of people I wanted to be around that could hire me for other jobs. And so that was kind of a strategy that I utilized to be able to make inroads into my field. But much to my surprise, I ended up just sticking with makeup artistry because the opportunities at that time were just kind of abundant, more so than the fashion side of it. And I just found that I could make a good living from doing makeup, and still it was a very fulfilling career. So fast forward, I think I'd been doing makeup maybe 10 years, and I was into television news, working with anchors, and just that environment of seeing the writing and the producing and that side of it got me gave me the bug. And one of my anchors that I was makeup artist for, she saw potential in me, and she said, I think you should look at the production side of everything. You seem to know what you're talking about when it comes to the scripts and writing.
Right.
I think that you should kind of explore that. And I'm so appreciative for just kind of somebody believing in me in that way. It led me eventually to start, which is now a 20-plus-year-old company, Evolution Studios.
Yes.
I started doing films. Became an indie filmmaker.
Wow.
And that side of my career has led me to do so many different projects and work with so many different clients. For instance, I've been working with Morehouse College for the past 10 years, producing content for them for some of the programs that they do, they do a lot of community-based programs for entrepreneurs, for business owners. And so that side of it fascinates me, what other people are doing in business, whether they have service-based businesses like I did when I was an entrepreneur, or product, or when I was, first starting out in makeup artistry, and as a producer and filmmaker, or what I've been doing the past kind of 12 years, which was I created a product and I patented it called the Makeup Bullet, and it is a cosmetic sponge fits snugly on a finger. You were there for the genesis.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. And I'm so amazed at your journey. And I want to talk a lot about, really focus on that level of entrepreneuring. Two things, really. The fact that you were able to take this passion and this realization and move it to a state of entrepreneurship. And then secondly, understanding that you could also do those non-traditional things. Sometimes people like Hollywood, little screen, big screen, but there's so many other things. I know even one time, if I'm not mistaken, with your makeup, you had makeup vendor machines, I believe. And so just talk about that facet to inspire our audience here about how, it's fine if you're doing multiple things, and even more fine to look at the other ways in which you could do them.
Exactly. My goodness. Yeah, the makeup vending machines. And that was kind of an evolution in itself, because I started out with snack and drink vending machines. I had 3 locations around Atlanta, 3 different properties that I serviced with their vending machines. And it just kind of came up of, I'm just kind of a serial entrepreneur, I guess, to a certain degree. And I always am trying to find out ways that I cannot be in one place, because I get bored so easily. And it's just like, I need ways to make money that still kind of give me like freedom to move when I want to, how I want to. And a vending business was just that. It was something that, it wasn't like you have to be here at a set time this day each week. It was, okay, I can choose which days that I fill the machines. I can choose what time. I can make it work within whatever my schedule is with makeup artistry. So I started these. I just purchased my first property. It was in a condo, high rise. And I just gotten in there, and I started going to all the little meetings for the community, and they were like, we need vending machines. And I was like, hey, I could provide the vending machines, because I had started these, it started out as makeup vending machines, because I got the idea to put makeup in vending machines. I had 2 locations, and it was kind of slow going, like it was like a new concept. And basically anything with vending is location, location, location. Anything with real estate, it's about where it is. I had these makeup vending machines, but they were it was learning as I went, because the locations that I had didn't get enough transient traffic and as frequently to make them make sense for somebody to just do it. They were kind of in a place where it's all the same audience of people. Makeup, once you buy, say, a lipstick out of the machine, you're not going to need another one for maybe 6 months.
Right.
So it wasn't like it was a bag of chips that, I could buy another bag of chips tomorrow. The same bag of chips I bought yesterday, I'm going to need another one. It wasn't as consumable, as fast, the turnaround for it. So when I was in that meeting, I'm like, I already got snack machines that I have makeup in that they're not doing and fulfilling their full potential. So I could easily transition them over to what they were actually created for, buy a drink machine. And so then I was like, let me get another property and another property.
Right.
So, but then with anything, when you're a solopreneur, it becomes all on you unless you want to, hire somebody. So once I had my first child, I was just like, man, schlepping all these drinks and snacks. It's just getting old with a baby. I got the baby and I was like, I'm going to have somebody do this. And after they did it for a little while, I was like, you know what? You just want to buy me out. I'm good. I was moving on to production and other things. And I'm like, I've outgrown this. So actually, she didn't want to buy it. I sold it to a gentleman who wanted it for his son. His son looked about 12, 14, and he wanted to teach him entrepreneurship. And I was like, this is perfect.
It's interesting because I love that you had that foresight to do that, Eva, and Eva Jane. And I do wonder what kind of epiphany. I know you had the baby and it was your first child, but sometimes still we hold on to things, right? We don't know how to say, okay, it's okay to release it and it's okay. So what was, besides that, what did you have to dig inside to say, I know that you were exhausted and probably a lot of other things, but still just saying, it's okay. I can sell this. It's good. I did it.
Yeah. Because I think with each experience, and I'm one who's just added different experiences.
Yeah.
And anytime I speak to somebody and they talk about they want to start a business, they want to be an entrepreneur, and I first tell them, because they'll say, oh, well, I want to do this and I have this idea for this. It has to really be in line with what your perfect and ideal life is. What type of entrepreneur do you want to be? Yeah. And what type of life do you imagine that you want to have? Yeah. If you imagine that, like, I never want to raise kids. I just want to always be on the go. I just always want to. So the type of entrepreneur that you could be would be somebody who didn't necessarily have to have the schedule or I have to be at home at this point in time. Or, so maybe something that involved travel or that. Because some of these things, like for instance, I have girlfriends who, and dear friends who were in the film industry. I never truly wanted to be in film for makeup, because of just the demands of how those schedules were and taking you away from for 6 weeks and how hard it is, kind of like on relationships and everything. I'd heard, some of my friends talk about it, like, oh, I'm going to be here for eight weeks out of town or whatever. I'm like, I don't necessarily want to be away at a time, and then you don't know where the next gig is going to be. Like, that didn't seem like a fun life for me. But some people, it's like, that's an adventure. I want that. So you have to kind of determine what, how it would work for you in the future. And that way you can kind of plot a course. If you don't know, then try some things like an opportunity, because once you put it out there into the universe, opportunities are going to arise.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Once you start doing something, you start sharing it, you're going to get opportunities. Once you start knocking on people's doors, opportunities will come. So either you're going to be of the mindset of, I'm going to accept anything because I really don't know what I want to do or what this would be like, and let me feel it out. Or you can narrow the field and say, nope, that doesn't align with what that would, take me into my ideal. I would rather do something like this. So whatever type of business, whether it's a brick and mortar that you open, like, I never wanted to open a brick and mortar because I'm like, I can't see myself in four walls. All the time. Batty. Like, so you have to know what works with your soul, works with your makeup, what brings you joy first before you say, there's a need. There's lots of needs.
Right.
Are
Yeah.
you the one to fulfill that particular need? Is it going to make you resentful of the industry? Is it going to, so there's so many ways to look at it, and there's so many opportunities to have joy and make a living at the same time.
I love that. That's amazing. And I think our audience is really going to appreciate that. We're in this world where many of us do multiple things, and sometimes we are doing it for the money, or for whatever reason, it's not the right one. And so finding your soulmate in that way, from a different perspective,
exactly,
is really valuable, and it's really, really important. Was there ever a time when you were stuck, when you were like, what am I doing, and how did I get here, and how am I getting out of this?
I have been graced with something called getting fired. Sometimes people look at when you get fired, like at the time, it doesn't feel good.
Right.
Doesn't feel good at all. But I recognize there have been times where things have happened, and it might have been a misunderstanding, miscommunication. They didn't hear my heart. They misinterpreted. Whatever it is, it doesn't feel good, because you feel almost like, because I'm a person of high moral character. Like, I value that. Right. So when someone misunderstands something that was said, or totally got secondhand information that wasn't correct, or misinterpreted something, it hurts. It does. Right. And I've lost positions over that. I mean, since like college, working in the mall, I can remember having some positions where I remember one of my first jobs was like at Express. Right. And I think we agreed on mutually, like, I shouldn't be here anymore. Those are cool. It's just like, this probably wasn't the best decision for me to come work here. Right. But there have been other in my adult life that positions I probably never would have left. Never on my own.
Right.
I looked back on it and said it was time to go, but I would have never, there had to be some type of catalyst.
Right.
What that catalyst would have been, everybody's happy and holding hands and hugging. They were never truly like that. It was always like some type of friction, and something happened, and I couldn't make it right. And it's like, all right, well, so I look at those times, and I think sometimes you do have to look at those with kind of a spiritual eye at times, because they do hurt when relationships are broken, and when it looks like you were, the bad guy to a certain degree. But I can never say that I haven't grown and been stronger and been thankful for the next opportunity that I had after I let go of something. My mind, they let go of me. Right? Me, I'm just like, well, you go through all that.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, your journey. And, here in the studio, I have tissues. So if you were here, I'd definitely be pulling them out at this particular time. But I know that, when you went into filmmaking, there was that nudge and that observation for you to go into it. But then over the years, you did something amazing. And a lot of times when we have trauma or something that has, happened in our lives, and we remember it, and we hear about it, and there's a combination of a lot of different things happening, and then we're able to memorialize it through our gifts. That's a profound decision and a choice. And I know there was a time when you did have an experience, and I want you to talk about what you went through specifically with your mom, and then how you came to this. Tell me the title to everything, and just and talk about that, and share that experience, if you don't mind, with our audience.
Yeah, I made a whole film, so it's out there.
So talk from the beginning.
So my first film that I made, I was sitting in a church service, and I cannot remember exactly what the minister was speaking on, but my mind at that time was, I just had my first son. See, he was a catalyst for a lot as I'm talking. I'd had my first son, and I thought, like, if he grows up and asks me about his grandmother, I just have nothing to tell him because I don't know much about her. I was born the only child of an only child, and I was raised by my maternal grandmother, who was my mother's mother, and she lost her husband, my grandfather, 11 months. He died 11 months before their only child, my mom. So she raised me. She was 70 years old when my mom died. I was 6 years old. So she took custody of me and raised me, and she lived to be 94, which was such a blessing. And JT's been around my family and my grandmother and knows her, and that's a blessing to me. My friends who have actually been blessed to know Georgia Walker Smith, because she was a very strong woman, and I don't fault her for not sharing more about my mother because it hurt her so much to recount all of the trauma that she suffered in the decisions that my mother made. I don't fault my mother for the decisions she made. And part of that comes from me actually digging and doing research and finding out family secrets and contacting family members that I'd never met, that I'd heard about as a child. There was a cousin that we had, and every time we went to the town where he lived, I just heard about him for years. And it took me so many years to understand, like cousin Drew, they'd be like, nah, he's not here, he's out of town. He was like locked up most of my childhood. So that was like the whole...
That was out of town?
Yeah, he was constantly traveling or wherever. He was never when we came to town. So I got to meet him and talk to him because him and my mom were like this. They were like more like brother and sister than cousins, and they ran together. And so he was able to just give me insight into her personality, how she moved, how she thought, and just like purely. And I appreciated that. So it helped me to understand why she couldn't be the mother to me that I thought I needed. But it helped me see the grace in the whole thing of how God left my grandmother to be able to be there to nurture and raise me.
Like the lights and storms all around, but I'm rooted in Jesus. I can't be drowned. When I got no signal, my spirit's still strong. He's a Wi-Fi connection that never goes wrong. The rock I stand on, solid and true. Ordering my steps in everything I do. Grace and mercy pouring, love overflowed. Dr. J. Anderson Cole, let the message be known. I'm rooted, I'm anchored in His name. Jesus lifts me higher every day like a lightning. But I still remain standing on a rock that will never sway.
So when I went back and talked to people, they said that I was with my mother when she passed away finally. And I was with her for a period of 3 days while she was not living. And I just thought she was sleeping. And my grandmother discovered me in the apartment with her. And I have no recollection of that. As far as I understand from stories the family told me, there were so many times that she was in a state of inebriation or passed out or whatever, that it was just another Wednesday to me. So a lot of the memories that I have of my mother, she was an alcoholic, and it was all the things that very not functioning alcoholics do. I have a lot of those types of memories, and they say that we're constantly, as we are adults, trying to heal from the traumas of our childhood. I can say that my grandmother filled that gap in so well and shielded me from so much of my mother. Like, I grew up not knowing any of her friends. I never questioned why I didn't know any of her friends, but my grandmother's method, which I can't fault her, was I'm just going to shield you from any and everything that would be a reminder or maybe give you insight into what happened with her, the decisions. Like, I would try to ask her when I was younger about my mom, and she would get very emotional. She would lash out. She's like, she just got with the wrong crowd and made a lot of wrong decisions, and she did things you'll never know about. And that's what she was saying. It shut me up.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it again until she was gone on to glory. And I'm like, hey, I don't know anything about her. So that's why I went on that journey. And I thought it was a respectful way to find out about my mom without, damaging my grandmother while she was there. But just, it honored her. I hope the film honored her, because I did discuss her, her background and, all she went through to achieve all she achieved, because she was an amazing woman.
How old was she when she died?
She was 94.
Your mom.
My mom? Oh, she was 32. Yeah, very young. She passed away 10 days before her 33rd birthday. And I began shooting my film 10 days before my 33rd.
Wow.
It was symbolic in the sense of I'm the exact age today that my mother was when she passed.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Say it again?
Talk a little bit about that.
Every day you wake up is a gift. Indeed. Every day you have breath, you have hope. And I've kind of taken my life in decades. The decade of my 20s was, the makeup artistry decade. The decade of my 30s was when I started production. The decade of my 40s was when I created the Makeup Bullet. And I've been trying to figure out what the decade of my 50s, because it's like I start a new career every decade. And so I try to, I can't say that I think about my mother every day. I know I look a lot like her. I've kept in touch with some of her friends and classmates, and they say the same thing. So just my existence and the way that I've tried to fulfill my dreams, I pray and I hope that honors her in some way in her short life, because I am because she was. And even though she did not get to really fulfill or live out, and she seemed very unsettled through her life, She lived fast though, and she enjoyed her life early. She did. And she was a rock star in her own right. That's what everybody says. Like, she was so beautiful and she was so privileged and she had everything. This woman was driving like Cadillacs in college. So she had a very charmed existence, but a lot of, unfortunate events. She made just unfortunate choices. And I don't know what the source of her sorrow was. I can't. Prayerfully, I get to ask her one day. Maybe it won't even matter.
Right.
You don't know what that next level is. It was just like, that's moot. It doesn't matter. We tried to do. We were doing the best we could.
That's it. Yeah. And like you said, you had your grandmother, and she filled that void.
So I don't feel like a traumatized person.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, I had a lot of childhood trauma. But I think part of it is just this whole, what are we, Gen X?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
This Gen X, we're resilient, we're tough. We just dealt with stuff. It's just like we move on. So I know that I have, I don't know. I think the next generations teach us something about ourselves, about our shortcomings, they put a lens on us. My kids put a lens on me. The things that were like that just kind of make us stop.
Yeah.
Let me look at me. Because maybe there's something there that I'm not seeing, I'm not being compassionate or sensitive to.
Right.
And then other times I'm like, nah, you just need to get it together. So, I think we can learn from each other when it comes to the millennials and the Gen Zs, and now the Gen Alphas, the young ones. But yeah, it's real different dealing with them. And I know that it's so funny because you hear talk about the different generations, and until you get older, it's really like, okay, this is a thing, because there's a pervasive theme in. So like with the whole, like, I don't feel traumatized, I don't feel all that, and maybe, I don't know, will it hit me when I'm 80? Because they seem to be in the fields a little more than we are, but everybody's different.
And you went and you created this film. And did you first talk about the film? And then, of course, did you find that without even realizing it offered some sense of healing?
Most def. I think answers to questions, period, offers healing. Because when you're in a constant state of what if, or I don't know, or you have a question. It's like, oh Lord, what's that scripture that says hope deferred makes the heart sick? Because if you keep wanting something to happen, you have an idea and it's never realized, or you never get to pursue it. You constantly have an ache, like, oh, I always wanted to do this, and you never do it. Always wanted to hurts. So once I answered those questions through the film's called My Mother Was a Butterfly. It's on Prime Video. If anybody has Prime, they can see it. My Mother Was a Butterfly. And it gave me a sense of, for one, you'll see in the trailer, if you look up the trailer on YouTube, that I had a question about who my father was. I knew that. And all I had was like a nickname all my life, because I was actually born in California, and my mother brought a 4-month-old child back to Ohio. Nobody who his father was, just gave like, oh yeah, his name was Billy. It's just like they didn't know who this person was. For me to actually try to find Billy, you know what I'm saying, and go back to LA.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, for me to be able to get Billy on the phone, that's in the trailer. That just, it blew my mind, because my whole life, I just prayed that I would at least meet him in the afterlife. Like that question would be answered so I could put it to bed. That was my way of just giving myself peace, because it was a question that I felt a mystery that would never be solved.
So I love that. And I want to segue a little bit more into the ancestry components, because I know that this stemmed a lot, kind of put that charge on you for a lot of things. But let me be clear. So, at 6 years old, you lost your mom. You were raised by your grandmother, and you never really knew you never had a personal relationship with your dad until maybe later in life.
Exactly, and not. I'm still doing a lot of digging and research, because Black folks, we're real good at secrets. And especially the generation before us. And that partially came from trauma, partially came from a sense of survival, partially came from protection. There's so many reasons that, like my grandmother, the generation before, like my grandmother's generation especially, kept secrets from us. And I get it. And it was a protective thing for their own hearts. Reliving things is traumatic. So I'm still uncovering, things that I'm just like, okay, extra kids all over the place, all the siblings. So oh, there's another one. How are they navigating life? And everybody doesn't want to know too.
Right,
I
right,
found that too. You find somebody who just doesn't care. They have another piece of family somewhere. It's just like, I'm good.
right.
Just, especially I've found, like, I've had friends and everything.
Mm-hmm.
If it was their father's, who's married to their mother's, his extramarital stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they
yeah.
might not want to have anything to do with those.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I've seen situations where everybody comes together and it's kumbaya, and we spend Christmas at their house, and we're close now, and our kids are going. And it's,
yeah, you see both sides. Yeah.
It works for some people.
Right.
So I think it can be beautiful when people can just be like, you know what? People are just people.
And through it all, you have Eva Jane Beauty, and I'm gonna come to that because I do want to talk about the ancestry part because that's important. But can you, before we move into that, just share some inspiration or encouragement for people who may have started from traumatic beginnings, or are experiencing it now, but yet through it all, ... right?
Yeah.
So just give them a sense of encouragement and inspiration.
Yeah. One thing that I think sometimes can be hard for people is hearing how someone who has, like, they might think that I sound flippant
Right.
about my trauma, Yeah. That can be offensive.
Right.
Or for me to say, get over it.
Right.
That's overarching offensive.
Right.
Everybody processes differently.
Mm-hmm.
There is no shame in getting help,
Mm-hmm.
seeking advice, seeking professional assistance. I was traumatized by something totally different recently in my life, which was a car accident about 5.5 years ago.
Right.
And it was a whole year later. I thought that the feeling of getting back on the road and in a car, whether I was in the driver's seat, passenger seat, riding on the hood, it was all just like, I'm shaking the whole time. I'm sometimes pulling over in tears.
Mm-hmm.
It was a year later that I went ahead, and because the case was still going on, I told the attorney, I said, look, I know I went through all the physical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I need something from my mind because I'm still not comfortable getting out on the road.
Right.
And I underwent 12, 16, something like that, sessions with a therapist, just so I could get back in a car and feel comfortable, like somebody wasn't just, everybody around me wasn't potentially going to hit me.
Right.
And that helped settle me.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to whatever somebody's working out, when it comes to trauma, or when it comes to just being able to function in a way, everybody, I think, deserves joy.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be happy all the time. Nobody can be happy 24/7. But to have a deep-seated joy of everything's going to be okay, everything's going to work out, to get to the point where you can, function with constantly not being triggered, like whatever that is. Like, find out what that is. You deserve to know what that is. And it can come through friendship. It can come through your partner in life. Some of this comes through my children, because I watch them and I'm just like, okay, y'all pretty, that brings you joy.
I love that. Thank you so much. We have Eva Jane here from Eva Jane Beauty, inventor of the Makeup Bullet, Emmy Award winning makeup artist and filmmaker, entrepreneur. And, I want to really go a little bit deeper into this ancestry, because you talked about how you just knew your dad's name was Billy, and we have clips of it in the trailer of My Mother Was a Butterfly. Am I saying that title right?
You are.
And but then this sparked something even deeper, correct? And you've done something that, we all talk about in terms of, finding our lineage, especially for the African American community. We were stripped from so much that we don't know where to begin sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that journey? What led you to that journey and where you are today in that journey?
Well, so I will say, I went ahead and I'd already built like family trees on the ancestry.com website, like just kind of, and they have different tools to where you can, like other people have filled out their trees and they coincide, so you can get more information there.
Right.
And one thing that I wanted as well, because you can find those trees, but if you're Black in America and you didn't like immigrate here on your own, then immigration happened to you in a way that was enslavement. So it only goes so far with the trees and everything. So I wanted to do the DNA side of it and find out, for one, for my children, where they came from, like where in Africa. We say we're African American. We don't know region. We don't know tribe. We don't know any of that.
Yeah.
We were robbed of that. So what I wanted to do was find out all 4 legs of the tree. So I wanted a male and female from my side. I wanted male and female from my husband's side, because they didn't trace all the way up. So it ended up that, let's see, I did it. I wanted my dad to do it. And then my husband did it. His mom did it.
Wow.
That way we would have all, and that opened up a whole can of everything.
Right.
But one of the things that was very significant on my side was my mother's father's side. And I'm still trying to figure out my grandmother's side, but my mother's father's side, right when I did that and got the results, it led to Virginia, which I knew he was from the area, Christiansburg, Blacksburg, all that. And I started reaching out to some of the people in the tree and got an elderly woman who was a cousin on that side. And she gave me so much information about where her family was actually enslaved.
Wow.
Smithfield Plantation, which is now the land that the College Virginia Tech sits on.
Wow.
And it coincided with maybe less than a month later, they were going to have a 250-year celebration of Virginia Tech and their, how they started. And they were bringing together all the different stakeholders. Wow. So, and it was just audacious what they were doing. And really, really wow, they're doing this. So they brought together the community of Blacksburg, Virginia, where they are, the community of the campus. Nikki Giovanni, at that time, she's passed on now, but she was a professor. They honored her. Then they brought together the ancestors of those who owned the plantation, Prestons. They brought the Native Americans, the ancestors of the Native Americans who were displaced from the land. Smithfield was established, and they brought together the descendants, I should say descendants. I would say the ancestors, descendants, going the wrong way. So the descendants of those enslaved at Smithfield. And there were 4 major families that were enslaved, and they traced it back to this one ship called the True Blue that came, and they purchased their first 16 Africans that came from this ship. Wow. And all of these that they had, what do you call those, indentured people who maybe came over from Ireland, who they would mate with so that they could build their whole population of chattel slavery. And so it's a brutal thing to look at, but having all of those people coming together and facing that and facing one another and looking at what's happened since then, and they still have one of the plantation structures, the house standing, the quarter standing, and there was what was called the Mary Tree, which enslaved people would do all of their ceremonies and celebrations and weddings and everything around. The Mary Tree was still standing, and the Mary Tree died right after we left. It was
really, wow.
These people came together. It was holding on as best it could.
Right.
It was just a few little branches, and then after that, it had gotten so sick that and it was okay, I can go or whatever. And so they did different things with the wood, and they're doing different things with the wood from the Mary tree.
Wow.
Plaques commemorating the descendants and the people who were enslaved. And so that history and, reckoning with it is challenging for a lot of those communities, a lot of those institutions that were built by the hands of people who were enslaved. So then, there's a lot of people who would like to erase that and not even pass along that knowledge of what happened to, if you see a Black American and they are from that experience, that they're from some resilience in our DNA.
Do you feel empowered or just uplifted in any way, having been on this journey and with this ancestral journey?
I would say sometimes it begs more questions than it answers at times, but satisfies something. So there's still like how do you properly honor just being here? And it's one reason is, one way to do that I've seen is how you represent, all of that, how you show up, and the agency that that you have. You belong here. You were meant to be here. Take up space. Be bold about it. Don't be timid. Don't be apologetic. So I try to honor them in that way. And sometimes that burden just feels like, okay, like it's too much today. I just want to, so I think, all that we go through mentally, especially, Black women, we feel like we're just carrying so much sometimes. And it's okay, and you're entitled to grace, and however you feel like showing up that day, or if you just don't feel like showing up that day, it's okay. Because I believe that it doesn't have to all be on, us. But yeah, I do feel a sense of obligation towards towards a lot, community-wise and me-wise, and to be an encourager. I was double booked for today. Right. I said, I have to be at this. I know I have to be at this. I have to show up for this woman, because there's never been a time she hasn't shown up for me. And then at the same time, I said, there's some women who wanted me to be at that. So what I did is I said, okay, it's a little over an hour round trip, but I'm going to go up there. I'm going to show my face. I'm going to drop off some product. I'm going to greet those people. And then I'm going to, because I'm like, these rooms, this room, that room, they're important. And we need to be in as many rooms to show people just the power and authority that we walk in. Because some people need that strength, because there's so much happening right now. And they need that strength, and they need that assurance, and they need that love. So when I can show up, I try to push me aside, because I don't always feel like. Right. It's not about what you feel like. And I know God rewards when you just put yourself out there, and He gives you the strength, know?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And that journey that you've been on, and to I think what I love is this ending component that you just brought in, and that's God, right? Giving you that strength. I was talking to someone recently about that, how when we feel that burden, when we feel so stressed and so pent up, that saying, I'm gonna give it to God. Well, you haven't done that if you're feeling so much stress, because when you give it to God, that stress is His, and you should feel light. And so I just appreciate your journey. You're like a sister to me in so many ways, and so I'm very proud of your resilience, and not because people think that as African American or Black people, right? Because who knows, all of us are Black, don't necessarily mean we're from Africa, but most of us are, that we are resilient, that we are just nothing bothers us, and that we are strong because that's in our DNA. But there's God there that kind of is that balance, and that's what brings us out to this space. So I really, truly appreciate you being here. I want to know about, what's been going on now. What are you up to? What can we see? Talk to me a little bit about some of this that you've done, the makeup bullet, which I am just someone who does things that I enjoy when people do things that are of, when it makes sense, And it's funny because when you did the makeup bullet, it was something that I was like, every time I got into the car, my husband would be like, can you please not get makeup everywhere on the car? And so I was like, bam. I don't have to now, because I can just put my makeup on and just like have my bullet with my finger and just like touch up. And my hands are free and I can do. So when you created this,
I love
the makeup bullet, this was, and you see, I use it, right? It's not just cut out of the box, okay?
I think that's still shot. That's amazing.
And so, talk to me just about the innovation that, comes with this, but then grabbing that for all the other things, right? And what that takes and took, and just share that journey with us.
Yeah. Creating a product from scratch was, I would say, probably my biggest challenge. I meditated and hemmed and hawed and how can I, for a good almost, I don't know. I look back and I'm like, when was the first inspiration? It was almost 10 years before I actually did it, just because I didn't know how to. And I thought that I was not enough to do it.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know how to do this. I don't have enough money to do this. This is bigger than me.
Right.
And when I finally had them in my hand, it was just amazing just to say, you were with me when the first bigger shipment came. I had to have it shipped to the show I was doing in New York, because they didn't have them ready before I left. And you,
I remember that,
were with me packaging them.
Yeah.
Ready for that first show to debut them to the world.
Yes.
So it was just big, I was trying to create something that was the first and only, and I think it was such a privilege, and God really encouraged me to go ahead and be able to do it. It's still hard.
Yeah.
Once you have something, sometimes starting, and once you get started and you get running, all right, staying running is I'm in talks with a young lady right now, and she's going to kind of take over some of the marketing side of it.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to die out, and I need some fresh millennial or Gen Z energy, and to take it to the next level. Actually, I think she's a Gen Zer.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. And what's funny about it is that it's, what do they say? It's easy to die, right? The hard part is living, right?
Girl.
Right?
So like I said earlier, what I was trying to figure out in this 50s, and I've already decided. So I'm waiting to hear back. Prayerfully this week I'll know. I applied to grad school, and I'm gonna get my master's, and the program, it's an MBA, and the focus is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I want to teach in some way, collegiate level,
Wow.
in the whole, because a lot of colleges are adding entrepreneurship. Because
Yes.
whether you're working for a company, just that entrepreneurial mindset and
Yes.
just the way that you have those, just how you think like an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be an asset in whatever company. Or if you just kind of want to diversify and not, have a side hustle or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
how to do that and knowing, what's the right product
Products for
to
you.
go
Yeah.
ahead and create or put out, or there's so many ways you can be an entrepreneur.
I love that. Congratulations on that decision. Can you tell us where we can find your products, Makeup Bullet? Give us your website and any information on you, and so we can follow you and learn more about you.
Sure, themakeupbullet.com, evajanebeauty.com. You can find my products there. You can, if you're an Amazon person, you can find the Makeup Bullet there, and other products. So I have a store. Eva Jane Beauty is also on Amazon, or directly to the website.
Mm-hmm.
You know how those percentages go and those cuts.
Yeah.
However it works for you, because
Yeah.
I'm a Prime shopper, and I know Prime Day is coming up. So
Yeah.
Prime Day is always coming up, and now it's like 4 days now instead of 2.
Wow.
Who knows? By the time this airs, it might be like 10 days.
Well, I'm just so excited to have you, and I just really appreciate you joining. We have Eva Jane Beauty here, Eva Jane from Eva Jane Beauty Evolution. I mean, the amount of hard work that she's put in, Emmy Award winning makeup artist, and the list just goes on. I appreciate you so much for being here. This is my sister, y'all, and she's definitely shared some jewels just in terms of speaking her truth when it comes to resilience and keeping on. This is JT Kit, and this is Mindset to Manuscript with JT. Speak your truth, and that's Mindset to Manuscript. That is the number 2, mindsettomanuscript.com. And I want to thank you, Eva, for joining us this evening from Atlanta area. And I want to thank our audience for being here on this episode. Please feel free, and please don't forget to follow Mindset to Manuscript with JT. Speak your truth, so that you can take a look at this episode with Eva Jane from Eva Jane Beauty. Thank you so much, Eva Jane, for being here.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry.
They say that time heals all wounds, but I beg to differ. My mother died when I was 6 years old, and I never knew my father. Growing up an only child is lonely enough, but growing up with questions no one will answer is tormenting. The questions inside may grow quieter and come less frequently with time, but they don't stop. My name is Eva, and this is my journey.
I am doing a documentary on my mom. I've just been going around trying to find people who knew her and meet people who knew her so they could tell me about her, who she was, what she was like.
She really did live a fairy tale life.
The things you think you wish you had, Lynn had it.
Lynn was like up here.
She was so far out of my league.
Guys would watch her walk by, and it was like, wow.
I don't know what she was doing, but she had something the rest of us didn't have.
She was like almost legendary. When I did meet her, though, it wasn't a good time in her life.
My mom died 21 days before her 33rd birthday. They said she'd been dead maybe 2 or 3 days.
You were there when she passed, and you were there with her for 3 days. You thought that she had just fallen asleep, and you couldn't wake her up.
I guess a lot of people think that because I don't remember it's a good thing, but I want to know.
You want to know what really happened, and if I can help you, I will be able to refresh your memory enough so that you will know what happened.
The memories that I had of her, they're mainly negative. I knew that she was an alcoholic.
She was doing heroin and cocaine.
She was trading sex for drugs.
Lynn preferred going out in the street and walking the street.
She did try to keep you, you know. She tried to, the best she knew how.
Lynn was never parent material.
I never have met my biological father. If he's alive and if he's somewhere out there, I would like to know who he is.
My name is Eva. I am thinking you may have known my mother.